Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm Tanya Allen. One of the silver linings with COVID lockdowns, and there really were only very few, is that it forced families to step away from the hustle and bustle and spend more time together. With schooling taking place at home for children otherwise in public schools, it also meant that parents were able to take a closer look at just what their children were learning. Suffice to say that some parents were outraged. But what to do? What rights do parents really have in their children's education? Well, the UN Declaration on Human Rights, section 26.3, does, after all, declare that parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Sure, many parents do complain, but to what end? Do parents really have any sway within the public education system? Well, parents in Florida have had their voices heard and are finally getting some relief. On March 28th, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill which empowers parents within the school boards. The bill, titled Parents' Rights in Education, compels parental notification of healthcare services, allows parents to bring forth legal action against school boards, and, perhaps what it is most known for, is it prohibits the teaching of sexual orientation and gender identity for children kindergarten to grade 3. Critics are crying foul, saying this new "don't say gay" bill, as some folks are calling it, will have a chilling effect in the classroom, and that it goes too far. The Disney Corporation, for one, has vowed to help repeal it. But is it Disney's place to insert themselves between parents and children? Ultimately, isn't it the parent who should decide their children's education? And why is it so important to some that children grades 3 and under learn gender identity theory? Well, later in the program, I'll be joined by Quisha King, mom and senior director with Moms for America. But joining me now to help unpack this new legislation and the controversy surrounding it is Antony Sabatini, state representative for the Florida House of Representatives for the 32nd District. Thank you, Mr. Sabatini, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So could you please explain what does this bill do and what does it not do?
Well, this is a very humble bill. It does something that I think a great majority of all normal people agree with, which is that it prevents gender ideology and sexual orientation discussions from being part of the official curriculum of K through third grade students. Nobody in the world would have ever thought that was going to be a controversial idea when this bill was introduced months ago, but it just goes to show you where the woke left is, how far they've gone, that this somehow is a controversial bill. My original criticism of the bill was that it didn't go far enough. I think it should have went to the 12th grade. I don't believe any student should be being force-fed gender ideology. I think they need to be focused on reading, history, natural science, mathematics. Apparently, that's a really extreme right-wing view these days. But this bill was a modest attempt at beginning that conversation by prohibiting this kind of ideology in K through third grade. So how anybody could disagree with that, I have no idea.
Well, I had actually the same initial reaction. I'm like, sorry, this is just up until grade 3. What about the rest of the children? Don't they get any protections? So anyhow, it was, when I read the fine print, I thought there was, in some ways, much ado about nothing. But anyhow, one thing I found was interesting is that this seems to build on a previous Bill of Rights that your House passed in 2021, a Parents' Bill of Rights. Why was that an important, perhaps, precursor to this?
Well, it's a really, really important concept that we're pushing forth really strongly here in the state of Florida. We believe it's a fundamental right parents have to being able to control the education of their kids. But we got so much further to go. It can't just be an abstract right. You have to actually specifically and in a concrete way list what those rights are. And sometimes that means being free of certain things. In this case, it's an attempt at keeping kids free of dangerous woke ideology. But that's an initiative that here in the state of Florida we began with national acclaim, and we're going to continue to do it. I think, like I said earlier, this bill needs to go further. We need stronger teeth in this bill, and it needs to protect all kids. There are woke county school districts in Florida who are going to put this ideology on 4th and 5th and 6th graders next year. And guess what? This bill doesn't cover them. So it's time for the Republicans to expand on this bill going into the next legislative session.
Was there, we only have 20 seconds before commercial, but was there a big groundswell from parents saying, do something? That's why this was done?
Absolutely. This was a huge parental and family support behind this bill. It was one of the most popular topics talked about state politics going into the session. So this is a bipartisan mandate when it comes to actual parents.
Okay, we're going to pick up this discussion in just a few moments when we return. Welcome back. I'm joined by State Representative for Florida, Antony Sabatini, and we're discussing the new parental rights and education bill, but you might know it as the Don't Say Gay bill, strangely enough. One thing that has nothing to do with sexual orientation that was encompassed within this bill was that now schools have to tell parents when their children receive mental health services in a school. I think that's very important. But was this a problem in the past for various school districts in Florida?
Yes, it was. There were a lot of school districts, especially in some of the more liberal-leaning counties, who were hiding information about what was being told to their children, how their children were being taught, et cetera. And really were giving just a short shrift to any teachers that wanted to parents that wanted to try to find out what was going on inside the classroom. And so this was spawned from an actual need, a need for parents to be able to have more control over their child's education, which is a fundamental right. And once again, we're proud of what we've done, but I think we definitely need to expand on these laws because the threats to parents' rights and when it comes to raising their own children is under attack like never before in American history and world history.
And, again, Florida stands, maybe not alone, but they definitely are standing really high above right now in American and probably North America wide of putting a legislation like this forward. But it's shocking to me because it should be a no-brainer. You mentioned that children were, having discussions or things were happening in schools and they're hiding it from parents. Why would you hide something like that from a parent? It is the parent. Are we working together, or at the very least, shouldn't the parent be paramount in directing their child's education? It's shocking to me that some folks really feel that they are above parents in both education and in the state in general.
Well, absolutely. Elites on the left see themselves as being wiser or better people than parents. They don't trust parents. They don't like parents, and they definitely don't trust them. And so this is a way of sort of subverting parents, replacing parents with a sort of, meta parent, which is the school district, the total control over the child's education, moral beliefs, worldview, and determination of just how their life should be lived. Should be in the hands of the school board in their opinion. And so we're fighting back against that, but they're never going to relent because this is a fundamental notion for them. They really do believe that parents need to give up some of their control over children, and that society as a whole, through the school district, should have more control over those children. And so they're going to continue to fight, and we'll fight back.
Now, one other interesting thing, there are many things contained in this legislation, but one interesting component is now parents have the ability to sue their school district over teachings they don't like, or anything really. Do you anticipate much litigation coming forward? Is this perhaps emboldening or maybe even weaponizing parents? Maybe too much?
No, I think the private cause of action, the new lawsuit that we created, is very important. I think it needs to be used often. And as a lawyer myself, I plan to help parents by taking a look. In fact, I'm doing it right now, looking at some of the potential violations of the law. Even the law last year, the original Parents' Bill of Rights, in which we built on, there have been numerous violations of them, and it's time for lawyers to stand up and fight for these parents. So no, I think it's the perfect remedy, and I think it's really going to be a major deterrent to school districts that violate the law, that they would have to pay the attorney's fees of these parents, and of course, any kind of damage.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because I think for many parents, and I'm a mom of 5 myself, is, if you're sending your children to be educated and you have trust and you have hope that things are being done in a certain way, and if you feel that's been violated, what recourse do you have? Sometimes you feel impotent, like I can't take any action for it. So this will perhaps allow cement a path forward for parents who want to say, no, I'm going to assert my rights and this is how I'm going to do it. So it's quite interesting. Now, of course, you've received, and by you meaning the Florida government has received a lot of pushback, perhaps most notoriously from Disney Corp, which is based out of Florida. What power does Disney really have over discussions and education within the classroom?
Well, Disney has no direct role in curriculum and education in Florida, but what they do have is an enormous amount of money. And some Republicans in the state of Florida have been taking money from Disney, 5 to 10 millions a year is what Disney gives away in the state of Florida in terms of political donations, in
Wow.
order to control and impress upon those Republicans certain notions, woke notions about how education should be framed. And so Disney's been very effective in keeping conservative reform from happening in education in Florida. And this was the first time they really got caught by the public in a really public way.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Representative Antony Sabatini.
Thank you. Take care.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now we're joined by Florida mom and senior director with Moms for America, Quisha King. Quisha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
This is such an important issue. You know, as a mom of 5, parental rights is very near and dear to my heart. What was going on in Florida that really precipitated not just this new parental rights of education bill, but also the parental bill of rights that passed even the year before?
So we have had a lot of instances where parents were being completely kept out of the loop of what was going on with our children. For instance, there's a mom, January Littlejohn. She testified while the bill was being debated. Her child was being transitioned to another gender, and she had no idea. She was being told that the child was being told that she was going to, be able to room with boys on field trips. And this is a mother who was very involved in their child's education. She knew, she was involved with the PTA. She was, the guidance counselors knew, everybody knew who she was and was totally kept out of the loop. My own child was asked what pronoun she wanted to go by. First week of 8th grade, and my daughter has not ever expressed any interest in anything like that. So these ideas were being presented to children, and parents having no idea. My daughter was the one that, came to me and said, "Mama, why is my teacher asking me this?" And so those are just 2 examples, but this is happening all across Florida, and there were actual bills that go under the guise of protecting, under the guise of parental support possibly not being there, meaning your parents may not support what you're doing, but
Right.
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. You cannot transition my child. You're not a certified mental health person, and you are dealing with the mental health of our children, and our children they're minors. They cannot consent to these things. So on so many levels, it was just wrong.
Yeah, I could see why parents would be up in arms. You send them to school to learn math and science and, read and writing, not to find out that they've been, going in for counseling sessions or perhaps even more than that and other healthcare procedures without even you knowing. That would be definitely very shocking. So the Parental Bill of Rights passed in 2021. And now we have the parents' rights in education. Now, I know last year in 2021, Governor DeSantis, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he banned the teaching of CRT,
Correct.
the critical race theory. But this was still even being taught in schools. And before this new parental rights in education bill was passed, what recourse was there for parents who said, "Why are you teaching this? It's been banned"?
There wasn't much. Now there is some teeth to the bill where we can actually sue if we find out, obviously through diligence and making sure that there are legitimate claims. We don't want to come after teachers who aren't really doing this. But now we can actually have some legal recourse if we find out that these things are being taught to our children behind their back. I mean, they are essentially teaching children to be racist. They are teaching them to judge other people, other kids by their skin color. They are calling, white kids, if you're white, you're automatically a white supremacist. Minority children, you're automatically oppressed. I mean, we've dealt with this in America years ago. We already know how that story ends, and that is not something that parents want. Here in Duval County, where I live, we had a segregated school assembly at one of the high schools here, and parents were parents were mortified. The Black children were to meet at 9:30 a.m. and the white kids were to meet at 10. And it's like, okay, well, what about all the rest of the kids, the biracial children and the Asian, it's just it's such a regression of where America has come. And it's quite shocking. I think that's why people can't believe it sometimes. They're like, no, that's not happening, because it's shocking to think that something like that would actually occur today.
Well, it's shocking for me as a Canadian hearing about this. So why would a school do that? Why would they segregate children like that?
It's this idea that it's a critical race theory. It's an outworking of critical race theory, thinking that, if you are white, you are an oppressor, and if you are Black, that you're oppressed, and minorities need their own spaces and their own voices to be lifted up. It's an outworking of critical race theory. And so these diversity, equity, and inclusion consultants come into our schools, who are hired and paid very well, to push this nonsense on our kids. And many times parents had no clue that this was going on.
My goodness. This seems a lot to handle for parents who usually are just busy working their, one, maybe even two jobs, trying to keep food on the table, a roof over everybody's heads. And then to deal with this battle at the school board level is quite surprising. We're going to pick up this discussion in just a few moments. Welcome back. I'm joined by Quisha King, Florida mom and senior director with Moms for America. Quisha, thanks again for joining us today. So with this new parental rights and education bill, which is known as the Don't Say Gay bill, do you think it goes far enough? I was speaking previously with one of your state reps, and I, as a mom, was surprised that, wow, so only up until grade 3, there's a ban or a chilling on gender identity theory. Why not go higher? Do you think it meets parents' needs and concerns enough?
I honestly thought it could go higher. I think, we should keep these conversations to adults. I don't think minors should be presented with sexual education, gender ideologies. I don't think that we need these comprehensive sex ed being taught in schools. It is far beyond what we were taught growing up. It's far beyond just like the biology on, just how babies are made. These new ideas of sex ed and gender ideologies and things like that, it should not be just limited to 3rd grade. I do wish it would have gone further. I'm hoping that they come back and address it and take it even further, because again, our children need to be taught, academics. We don't need to be teaching them all of these social issues and putting these things on them that they honestly wouldn't probably be talking about unless adults were bringing these situations to them. Most kids, they're not thinking about that. And so let kids be kids. That's one of the things that we say at Moms for America. Let kids grow up and be kids. But one thing that you can do that we talk about at Moms for America is instilling these values into your children in the home. We believe that liberty starts in the home.
Yes.
So, maybe while your child is in public school, if you can't pull them out yet, teaching them what your values are as a family and, the love of your country. We can still have rights and we can still make an impact in our children's lives. And I think moms, we have the loudest voice at the end of the day. So let's get back to teaching our own children. That's my opinion.
Now, with this passing of this legislation, it just happened at the end of March, there was a lot of public outcry, and the usual suspects, the New York Times and that kind of thing. But, Disney really took a strong stance. They were accused of being asleep at the switch when this was being passed. Why did they do more? Now they've doubled down and committed to doing more, even trying to work to repeal it. And we just heard from a state rep that apparently they have deep pockets and give quite generous contributions to a lot of political campaigns in Florida, which to me is quite shocking as a Canadian. But that's what we hear in the noise in the media. On the ground, with parents, these are parents and their children. What is the reaction in Florida from parents to this bill? Are they happy? Is it a split 50-50? Could you shed some light on that?
70% of families agree with this bill. I'm not sure the percentage of how many wish it would have gone further, but I do know that there are many parents who wishes it would have gone further. But 70% of parents agree with this with this legislation. So Disney is going to have some real trouble on their hands when they are trying to say, okay, we're still going to push this anyway. So I think they're going to, this is not going to end up working out very well for them financially when they start to see, our Disney yearly passes being not renewed and parents just not showing up to Disney anymore because they have gone woke, as we all say in America. It's famously said, you get woke, you go broke. And so I hope more parents pull out of Disney, Disney Plus, and all of Disney products, because it is not something. How could you want children to be sexualized of any type of sexuality? They are trying to make it seem like it's a specific type of sexuality, but parents are like, we don't care what type of sexuality it is. We don't want any of this being taught to our children.
So do you feel that there will be coming litigation? Because we've heard from, teachers have come out and said, well, we're going to teach it anyway. So this is putting them right head to head with parents. We have about 25 seconds.
Well, I think that because of the Parental Bill of Rights, I think, and the Parental Parents Bill of Rights and Education, I think with those two legal documents that they're going to have a serious hard time winning anything on that front.
Okay, well, listen, Quisha, thank you so much for joining me today. And, maybe we'll have you on again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
So many of us parents north of the border are watching very keenly at what these parental rights movements are doing in America and what kind of legislation is needed to really protect children and protect parental rights, especially within the classroom. So we're going to keep a close eye on this issue. For Counterpoint, I'm Tanya Granick-Allen.